Things are getting pretty real around here with this collar. I don't know, starting to look like Count Dracula. Speaking of which, I wonder if Count Dracula can heal. No, right? He's like immortal. That doesn't those kinds of things. He probably looks at us like, oh, you mortals. Hey. Anyway, yeah, on the subject of healing and relationships and marriage and kids, what happens when you've married and have had kids before even starting the journey of your healing? I see this happen all the time where people get married and have kids, but they haven't even looked under the layers of themselves. Like they're totally out of touch with their own fucked upness from a survival based childhood. It's wild too. I'm not claiming any percentages or portions here, but so oftentimes I see people that I personally believe were raised in a survival based childhood with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, quite honestly, severe trauma. No shame, no guilt. But these, for some reason, tend to be the people that are so driven to have kids. And then simultaneously, people that were raised in less trauma, they still do the work on themselves and everything, which is fascinating because a lot of the people that were raised in severe trauma, the people that were raised in milder trauma and still do the work on themselves seem, again, just from my observation, this could be total bullshit, but they seem less interested in having kids. And the people that were raised in more severe trauma, they tend to be more interested in having kids. Like I see people that are, and again, no shame, no guilt. I'm not here to attack anybody. There's no judgment here. But I see people that are actually unaware of their shit, and they're really fucked up. Like they have even maladaptive defense mechanisms that fuck themselves up and their relationships up, and they're so driven to have kids, and it's whoa, put on the fucking brakes. Are you aware that you have some serious shit that is absolutely necessary to deal with before you bring kids into this world and then fuck them up? So what happens when you've married and have had kids, but you haven't looked at yourself? Like I've met somebody before. I'm pretty quick with reading people and everything. I've met somebody before um, that was fucked up, really fucked up, and this person was well, I mean, I came out fine. It's no, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And yeah, the very reality that people have kids, get married and have kids before they're even aware of their own fucked upness. It happens all the time. And it's really sad because quite oftentimes, in my opinion, what follows is, divorce and then fucking custody battles. When you are not an emotionally healthy individual, you are not capable of having a healthy relationship. It's just not possible. It doesn't matter what other universe you'd prefer this to be the reality of, or your reality of. It's just not possible. If you are severely emotionally stagnated with unhealthy defense mechanisms in childhood, and essentially you have the emotional maturity of a little boy or a little girl, you could be in a full grown adult body, 30, 40, 50 years old. It doesn't matter. If your emotional immaturity as a result of that trauma is present, you are incapable at your level of emotional maturity, or in this case, I should say emotional immaturity, to hold healthy relationships. That's just the way that it works. No healthy individual is going to waste their time with unhealthy individuals. So if you are unhealthy, you're likely going to attract somebody else that is also unhealthy, and the relationship is just not going to be healthy. Doesn't mean that it can't be sustained. You'll see like a regular fucking battlefield within that relationship, and it is unfortunate. It is sad because, again, it's not healthy. But maybe you're at a point in your life where you're like, well, I've been married, I have kids. Is it me? Something just seems fucked up. Is it me? A lot of people marry and have kids. They rush into the process because that's probably what they learned in childhood. They had all these non-consented pressures and expectations from their family of origin, societal pressures and stuff, societal expectations that they chose to, I guess, like unconsciously, subconsciously agree to. I guess they wanted the acceptance, the approval, the validation, that fucking check mark, because they're insecure, and that's just the way that it is. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. That's just the way that they are. But let me say this to make this very clear. If you wait to get married and have kids, I understand that women have a biological clock to deal with, and that's really fucking frustrating. Nothing but empathy and compassion in that regard. I understand. Hopefully you were born into a healthier family system and you got to learn the healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, and your trauma and marring and scathing were on the milder side of things. And you did the work to heal that stuff, and then you got to attract somebody that was healthy for you and have kids, and wonderful. Yeah, that didn't happen for everyone. If instead you were raised in a fucked up family system, every family system has their shit. No family system is perfect, but fucked up family system. And because of that, you just jumped right into marriage and kids and all of that stuff, and you didn't really take the time to look at yourself. Your relationships before you are healed, before you even start the process of healing, and your relationships after you've started and are very deep into the process of healing look very, very different. That's the reality of it. You literally attract differently when you start the journey of healing, when you're deep into the journey of healing, when you are no longer repeating unhealthy patterns that were learned in a fucked up childhood. The likelihood that your partner is basically just a fucking mirror spitting image of the emotionally fucked up dynamic of one of your parents, if you have not done the work to heal, if you've not even done the work to like fucking introspect and look at yourself, is very high. You're probably attracting based on mommy or daddy because that's what you learned. And I understand a lot of people are probably not ready to hear that, but that's the reality of it. So imagine how different a person's life could be if they actually like took a step back from everything and they were like, is it me? Do I have to work on myself? I don't have to. I have free human agency, and I can choose to just stay comfortable and familiar within these lines of family of origin shit. Or I could look at myself. Healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation. What I like to call the healthy triad of a healthy childhood. No childhood is perfect, but there's a difference between being raised in a healthy childhood with healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, and a survival-based childhood with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, where you do not get the healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation. Yeah, if you married and had kids before even taking the time to look at yourself, the likelihood that you got yourself into a relationship with someone and kids that is going to end up being, or is already, an unhealthy dynamic is very high. That's the reality of it. Did you marry someone and have kids with them before ever even thinking about looking at yourself? Just curious. Again, let me make it very clear, I'm not judging anyone here. I'm just looking at a very interesting contrast between people that took the time to do the work on themselves and like waited, rather than, just jumping into an unhealthy dynamic with somebody who's a spitting image of their fucked up mom or dad. It's fascinating. There's no shame or guilt here. There's no judgment. None of it is good or bad or right or wrong. It's just fascinating because when you heal from a survival-based childhood with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, your entire fucking life changes. Your relationships change. You change. You are the root of it all. All of your relationships are just symptoms of you. Your entire life, everything in it, are symptoms of you. Are you just compulsively repeating patterns from a fucked up childhood because that's what you learned? And maybe it's painful for you to even consider looking at yourself. Yeah, I'm fascinated to see oftentimes, somebody that never really looked at themselves and they ended up in a really unhealthy marriage with kids. And they're like, yeah, this is not working out, and I think we have to, get a divorce and separate and custody and stuff. Yeah, it's sad to see it happen. It really is. But do you understand why it's happening? Unhealthy relationships are unhealthy for a reason. That's the reality of it. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If two unhealthy individuals come together to create an unhealthy relationship, look at their childhoods. Because they likely haven't. They're likely just, doing all these things to collect trophies. Oh, all right, I got the marriage. Okay, I got the kids. Will you people shut up now? Like, they look at it as like achievements and accomplishments rather than like, oh, wow, I'm bringing a human into this world. I need to take care of this. And not that they're not thinking about that. It's just that they're approaching relationships from an unhealthy standpoint. Again, if you were raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the likelihood that you carry out dynamics that are exceedingly unhealthy if you have not done any work on yourself is very high. The likelihood that you're projecting those dynamics into your marriage with your husband or wife is very high. Onto your kids is very high. What would a marriage and kids look like with healthy dynamics? Imagine you do the work to give yourself healthy boundaries, set healthy boundaries with people, individuate, differentiate. Imagine you were to give your partner that space. Imagine you were to give your kids that space. Imagine how much things would change in your life. Marriages don't fall apart for no reason. And I'll say this very clearly and make this clear. Not all healthy relationships work. Because I think that people may have like a misconception about all of this stuff, especially based on what I'm saying. No, just because you're a healthy individual and you come together with another healthy individual does not mean that that relationship is going to work. However, the separation between the two is going to look drastically different from the separation between the two people that are unhealthy. Unhealthy relationships are drastically different from healthy relationships. Unhealthy marriages with kids look drastically different and are drastically different from healthy marriages with kids. That's the reality of it. So have you found yourself in a relationship with someone, a marriage, say, with kids, before you ever even started approaching yourself to look at yourself? I'm not talking about what it is that you've discovered that you need to do for yourself to heal. I'm talking about wow, uh, is it me? Like, you haven't even started like discovering the healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, healthy triad dynamic that you would need to install within yourself. No. Like, are you asking the question to yourself, is it me? It's a really healthy place to start. Your ability, your capacity to look at yourself, to explore yourself, to get curious about yourself, and to not, run away when pain presents itself is fucking crucially important here.